So that Sparky tutor here, make the most of the tash because it's coming off tomorrow, well, end of tomorrow, ready for December. Just trying to raise some money for November. Working on a bit of pyro here. Just wanted to show you a few of my top tips. This is something I see a lot of people don't do. When you cut an end, whether it's on a piece that you're installing or it's still on the drum, always take the end up so that you don't get moisture in there, because that will just really mess things up. Now, manufacturers say it will probably travel, the moisture will travel about 1 inch every 6 months. That's not been my experience. Sometimes it's longer. So that's my first tip for today. Before you do anything else, make sure when you're cutting the ends off of this, always seal it up so that moisture can't get in there, because that's your biggest enemy with mineral insulated. I like Marmite. I like m.i.c.c. A lot of people hate it. It's one of those Marmite things. You either love it or you hate it. I like Marmite. I like m.i.c.c. So first thing you want to do is put your shroud on, so that you're not forgetting that. Some people call them witch's fingers, all sorts of things. They waterproof the thing, the compression gland, but they also make it look a lot more attractive, because let's face it, they're even uglier than I am. But there you go. So I've got my compression gland here. I did a short video earlier where I say that I only tighten the back part of the compression gland up after I've finished everything else and fixed this part in, because once you've got your little olive tightened up, then this is not going to move anywhere, and I always find it a lot easier to work with this being loose, because it gives you some play, or if you need to adjust or move the cable around a little bit, with this locked in, you're not going to be able to do it, so it makes life a lot harder for you. First thing you need to do though is mark up the length of your actual piece of work. So I've already pre-measured this. I'm going to need about that much, so it's just a case of scoring round it with a knife and stripping that bit off, ready for the next part of the process. It is a bit long and drawn out, so bear with me. I've got many tools for many different things. I actually really like this Stanley folding knife. It's quite handy, so that's what I'm going to be using today for this. Be careful with it, because you know these are as sharp as anything. So just gently ring around the bottom like that. It's not quite as easy as peeling a banana, but it's not bad. And then run your way along the length at an angle. You can see you should be able to do this in one smooth go. It's not going to damage the mineral, the insulation, the copper, but it can blunt your knife, so keeping it at a nice angle is best. And then this is the nice bit. I love that. Peel that off. That goes in the bin, and now I've got my nice shiny piece of copper. Love the colour of that. You can buy this uncovered, so uninsulated. I've used that in churches and old pubs and stately homes in the past, as well as using it in industrial applications. And what you find with this is over time it will get a patina on it, and it will start looking quite antique-y, and so it goes in really nicely with old buildings and things. So although a lot of people say, oh, I haven't used it for years and I don't like it and no one ever uses it, we always use FP. This has got brilliant mechanical strength. I'll show that in another video. It is a pig to work with, I'll admit that. It takes time and patience, but if you've got that time and patience, you can get some real job satisfaction out of it. So next thing I want to do, put on the back piece. Okay, that will go on. Make sure that you've cut your end off nice and square, because that helps you when you're terminating. And right, so lost my video, so this is going to be one in 2 parts, a bit like the World Cup that's going on at the moment, but I'm not changing ends at half time, although I will be terminating the other end of this, so I suppose I am. So once you've got the outer bit stripped off, making sure that you've got your shroud, witch's finger, whatever you want to call it. I don't care, I'm not fussy. Keep this nice and straight, because it will make it easier to strip. Got the back part on, just slipping the olive on now. And again, I've said this in another video, and I'll keep saying it because I think it's really easy. Don't tighten this up, leave that till the last minute. all you really want to do with that is put that on there, just gently screw that together just to keep it in place. It will stay out of your way. Now I can start stripping this. So we're using a joy stripper. I remember back in the old days we used to use like an old-fashioned can opener like you get on a Frey Bentless tin. I don't go pie-eyed over those, fed up with those. We've got a joy stripper. There are the other ones with the thumb screws. I like this. They're a bit fiddly to set up with the blade in there, and if you get that wrong then it just messes everything up. But I think they're quite easy. Another top tip, well, when you're bending this, is not bending, stripping it. Put a little bend in there, tuck it under your arm, and it will stop the cable wobbling about everywhere. And then you can just wind it up like that. You're winding me up there, and it strips off nice and easily. Every now and then you're going to have to stop because this gets in your way. Either fold it out the way or cut it right off. And then you can see here, I'll go a bit slower, you can just see the powder's flaking off. If the powder's flaking off, you know that it's dry and you're not going to have any problems with it. If the powder's coming off in clumps, or it's sticking to it, then you've got a real problem with moisture in there, and you could end up with a low resistance connection, so you might want to strip a bit further back. That's why in a previous video I said always tape up the end once you've cut the MI. Okay, so this is going to take me a little bit of time, sorry about that. And again, either cut this off or fold it. It is razor sharp, so it's probably best to cut it off. I'm not doing that just to save a bit of time, but don't leave it waving around because you could have your eye out with it. Unless of course you've got safety glasses on, or you're a bit short-sighted like me when it comes to reading. So I need this for the precision. So this is the bit that takes a bit of time. Right, so here we go. I've relented. I'm going to use my Klein limited edition Macmillan cutlers. Really nice and all in a good cause as well. Love that sort of thing. Cancer charities are really important for us. And going to carry on stripping. It does take a bit of time, so I'm going to pause so that you don't have to sit there just watching me strip. It's boring. I'm doing this over a bin as well because the powder makes a mess everywhere. It's the sort of thing you don't want it getting in your clothes, and you don't want it getting all over the floor. Mostly it's fairly harmless. This isn't food grade, but if it was, it's great for calming upset stomachs. Some of you might have heard of milk of magnesia. Comes in a blue bottle, tastes like chalk. Your mum might have given it to you when you were younger and sick. It's relatively safe. So you don't have to worry about any kind of contamination there, but it does make a mess. It goes everywhere, and you can see my fingers getting nice and dirty. You need to keep your hands clean, but don't wash them too much because the moisture gets picked up and it can cause you problems. So I'm getting to the point now where I'm nearly finished with this, and this is where I love the joy strippers. Okay, and I really do think they're joy. The first time I came across these, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven because they make things really easy. So I'm getting to the point now where I want to finish and have my nice straight end. So what I'm going to do, get out my pliers, hold that on there, keep it tight so it keeps it square, you can see that, and then just ring around it, and that will cut that off. Sorry, that will cut that off. And you get a nice square end, which is really important for putting our pot on, which is going to be the next bit. I've lived through quite a few evolutions of these. There used to be things called wedge pots, which were really good, and they would wedge tightly on. There were also heat shrink ones, which were an absolute nightmare, and so finally went full circle and went back to the ones that screw on. So you can see the end there, nice and square. Little bit of build up of powder. I'm going to leave that for the moment. Whatever you do, don't try and blow on it. If you really want to do anything, tap it to get any excess off, but don't blow on it. Moisture in your breath is your own biggest enemy with this sort of thing, so it can cause insulation breakdown. Don't know what you've called these. I call it the potting tool. So that's used in conjunction with our compression gland and our pot. So there's our pot, if you've never seen one of those before. And inside it, I don't think you can tell, but there's a tiny little thread in there. So the idea is that you screw this on. Now, first of all, I was taught, and I prefer to just screw it on a little bit by hand, making sure that you get it as square as possible. You know when it's starting to bite and get the thread, because it creaks like me getting out of bed in the mornings. So just going to pause for a minute. Now, some people don't like screwing that to start with by hand, but I prefer to. It's my personal preference. And then put your potting tool on. Try not to move the pot. You really don't want to be doing that. Try and keep it as straight as possible. Leave this done up the way it is, just so it guides it and keeps it straight. And then you want to get this on there. You can go kind of tool tight, but usually you can get away with this just being hand tight. I'm just going to hold that there just so you can see. What you don't want to do is tighten it too much. So pair of cutters on there, little bit of a turn, that's great. Then you've got the fun of screwing it right the way on. So you can hear that creaking. I've seen other people in some videos, what they do is they put a bit of Vaseline or petroleum jelly on there. I don't, I like the challenge of it. Right, so I've pretty much tightened this on. You're not going to be able to see it in there, but what you want is the sheath of the MI to be just in line with the bottom of the pot. You might be able to see that better when I take the potting tool off, or what I call the potting tool. Again, that wasn't on there very tight. So what we don't want at this point in time is for that pot to move and loosen off. Okay, so that's off. Happy with that. Don't know if you can see, but we've got the inner bit just in line with the bottom of the pot, but not sticking through, because you don't want that, because you haven't got much clearance with these. And then what you want to do now is just give it a little tap, get any excess powder out of there. But whatever you do, like I said before, don't blow on it. Save all your blowing for other exercises, like cooling your tea down when you're having your morning breakfast. So very gently going to spread those out, and just going to get myself a stub cap. Right, next thing you want to do, and again I'm keeping pause in this, so if I look like I'm jumping about, it's not because I'm really excited about this. Take your stub cap, what I do is push it right the way to the end like that, and very gently take a pair of pliers on the ends of the cable, great if you don't shake, just very gently give them a pull to tease them straight so that they're not catching on the edges. Once you've done that, you're ready to put your compound in, and this is going to be one of my other tips. I haven't always seen everyone do this, so if you do this and I haven't seen it, forgive me, don't come for me. What I do before I put the compound in is I sit with my thumb on the conductors to keep them in line, with the pot just sitting there. That will keep those nice and straight, so you won't be squashing those or risking them shorting out on the sheathing. Okay, and then all I do, which is what I was taught to do, is just put the compound in from one side. What you'll do is you'll find that it will push down, expel the air from it, and when you've filled it up, you'll start to feel the compound coming up and pressing on your other thumb. So that's another tip of mine. Just going to show you that in a moment. This is where ideally you want to have clean hands. I've got my stick of compound here. This stuff, be really careful with it. If it gets in your clothes, it sticks like shite to a blanket. I have to say, there's no polite way of saying it, and it'll be an absolute nightmare trying to get it out of your clothes. No matter how many times you wash them, it seems to hang around for a long time. This is so well sealed up, I can't even seem to get it open. So just peeling that open, and what you want to do is don't expose too much of it, just expose as much as you need. And then, like I say, thumb on there to keep those straight, take that and then just gently push it in, as you can see, from one side only. This is where you want to make sure you've got your hands as clean as possible. Okay, and just keep putting that in, feed it in from one side. You can see just about there it's starting to push down and in on the pot inside, so that should expel any air. You don't want any air in there, and I can start feeling that pushing up against my thumb. It's all soft and squidgy, but it's what your thumbs are for. Otherwise it'd be all fingers and thumbs and I'd be wondering what to do with the other one. Okay, so got that squeezed into there. There's a little bit of excess. Before I go any further, make sure that you cover this up and put it straight back in its packet to keep it clean. If you are concerned about that bit being dirty, before you use it again next time, just snip the end off with a pair of cutlers and away you go. So that's that. Now I've got the next thrilling part of this, pushing the stub cap down. Now some people do and some people don't like to actually get a pair of pliers on either side and pinch it in place just to hold it there. I sometimes do it and I sometimes don't. Depends what mood I'm in. It's quite good because it can help you keep any excess mess off of your work. This is where it gets a bit awkward as well, because I want to get both pairs on there at the same time and apply equal pressure. Pinch that down. You can see some of the excess is squeezing out, makes a bit of a mess. Sorry if you can't see that clearly, but that gets the stub cap pretty much in the place where you want it to be. I can clean this bit of mess off before I move on to the next part. What I'm just going to do here is pinch it down on one side because it's not perfectly straight. There we go, that's nice and straight now, ready for crimping. So this is your crimping tool. You'll notice on here it's got these little pointy bits, they're like sharp bits. On the stub caps, there are actually little slots or guides that you can line these up with. You want to get those in line, because not only when you tighten this is it going to push the cap down, it's also gently going to crimp it like you get on a pie or a Cornish pasty. I'm getting hungry now thinking about food. And that will stop the pot moving up and the cap twisting round. So that's what you want. So just make sure this is opened up, gently feed the cables through, or the conductors through the middle. Sit your pot directly into the bit at the bottom and hold it there so that it doesn't move, because that's going to keep this nice and square. I'm going to move it round. I need to match up with the crimp marks. Okay, short-sightedness, can't actually see them. Get there in a minute. Sometimes what you can do is spin it round and the actual crimp bits find the natural place where they are. Okay, what you want to do now, got that in the right place, is just hold that firmly. Okay, I'm just going to move this round so you can see it. Hold that firmly and just let the top bit run down. Okay, and gradually tighten it up. What you don't want is for the pot to twist. Okay, if you do, you risk loosening it up. So make sure this is the brass bit is kept in position, and you're just moving the thumb screw at the top. And you want to get that nice and tight, but what you don't want to do is over tighten it. I've seen people do that. They think it's a strong arm contest, and what happens to the pot is it squashes right down and it starts bulging, and it's good for nobody then. So just do that, get it nice and tight but not too tight, and you don't have to be a real strong arm to do that. You can just use both hands. That will tighten up. Just going to loosen this off and check it. Again, making sure that I'm not moving this bit. And you can just about see there, I hope. Might need to move this around a bit. You should just be able to see where it's crimped, but that's a bit better. Not perfect. Hopefully you can see that's crimped on there, so that pot won't move. So now we're ready to terminate the other end. I can't check this out yet to make sure that it's okay, but I'll have to do that afterwards. So exciting bit, I'm ready for the other end now, so need to cut this off. I'm going to pause. I'm not going to let you watch the misery of me trying to cut this. I'd always say though, when you do, hold it with a pair of pliers just to support it, okay? And be careful, because here's one I did earlier, managed to cut myself. I'm a man, I can take it. Oh, it hurts. But be careful, and one of the things that can help support your m.i.c.c. or pyro, whatever you want to call it, with a pair of pliers, then if you do slip, you're not going to cut your thumb off or slice nasty bits of skin out of it. So just going to cut that now, and then join you back in a minute. So I'm going on pause again. So just cut this bit off. Like I said, top tip, always tape it up. So what I've done, doubled the tape over the end. You don't have to go really mad over it. I shouldn't say mad, I think you're supposed to say released into the community these days. So there you go, just tape it, give it a little pull as well. The great thing about your electrician's tape is as you pull it, it shrinks back a little bit and it binds onto it, so you'll get a nice little seal on there, and not the sort you find in a circus or a zoo. Which reminds me, someone said to me, they asked me what's a Shih Tzu, and I said it's one with no animals in it, but it's actually, turns out it's a type of dog. Next thing I'm going to do, top tip, these are all silly little things that no one ever tells you, but they make your life easier for the future. Once you've got the end taped up like that, so that you're not having to fight around to find the end, if you want to unpeel it, just double over and leave it like that. That's not going to go anywhere, but if you do need to undo that afterwards, you've got that little flag at the end there, so that little tab helps you wind it off. So cut that bit off now. Not going to be using this, but it's watertight, so don't have to worry about moisture getting in there and wasting cable. So on to the next thrilling bit. I've already gone through how to make off one end, so just going to make off the other ends. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Follow me. This is going to be, I'm going to post it on Instagram. Don't think it's going to show up that much, but you can follow me at that Sparky Tutor on YouTube, where you'll get the full video. Drags on a bit, but sorry about that. If you do want to learn about this stuff, even if it's just to say stuff that I don't want to be working with that in the future, watch my videos, and if you do like it and follow me, and feel free to share it with other people if you think it's useful to them as well. Bye.